What they don't tell you about working in the SOC, stay tuned. What's going on, guys? Hey, appreciate everybody for tapping in. Let's talk about a few changes before we get into the video. Number one, you guys see that the new name has been changed from Techno Chatter to TechTual Chatter, just to more align with my brand of using TechTual. That's also my Twitter handle, so feel free to follow me on Twitter. So that's why that was made. So nothing's changed, just the name. Also, Let's Talk Tech will be changing to the TechTual Talk, and that's kind of all that is on that end. I also want to appreciate everybody that's helped me get to 2,500 subscribers. I'm trying to get to 5,000 subscribers before the end of the year. So go ahead and give me that HBO special. You know what that is. Help a brother out. Go ahead and give me that, and I really appreciate it. But now let's get into the video. What they don't tell you about working in the SOC. Now, most everybody glamorizes SOC work, and they tend to, you're in InfoSec, cybersecurity, it's going to be fun. But let's talk about some things, and I got a list right here. So if you see me looking down, that's the reason why I'm looking at it. MSSP, which is a managed service security provider, or managed security service provider, either one. That's what I work for at my old company. Potentially, you can run into bad clients, and they could just be really hard to work with. The people and everything, they want to do things a certain way, and sometimes they don't know what they're doing. Then you can go into the tools that you use, old software. From my experience, we had QRadar and McAfee EPO, two old dinosaurs that cannot keep up with the new toys. QRadar was always dropping logs. We had an excellent engineer that worked on QRadar. It's just the limitations of the client's QRadar was trash, and it couldn't keep up with all the logs that the client had. His client was huge, so it couldn't do what Splunk did. And then you had McAfee EPO that really worked when it wants to work, and it was cool back in the day. But now you've got Tanium, SentinelOne, CrowdStrike, Carbon Black. Those are a couple. Even you got Microsoft Defender. You got a couple of those that are out now, to where they're kind of taking the market share from EPO, and it's just hanging on by a thread, man. So you got to deal with that. Laziness from your teammates, not putting forth effort, just putting whatever on certain alerts, especially if they're low and mediums, and hopefully no one sees it. But hey, when it came to me, I saw everything. So that's one of those things they'll tell you about, is how people really being lazy, man, and not taking pride in their work, and not really caring, not knowing how many people want their position. That's one thing I really had an issue. Rule tuning is one. That's a big one. When we first took over the client contract, we had so many rules that need to be tuned, and it took a lot of time, especially with tuning in between two SIMs. So that's one of the issues you can run into, that where it can make your job be not as easy, because if you having to work on a rule that's not actionable, it's just wasted time, and you're constantly saying, hey, blah 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 blah, this rule is useless, please tune it. In so many words. That's trash, bro, for real. So that's one of the things you can deal with. Number 5, alert fatigue, kind of rolls into the rule tuning part, but also they've got so many alerts coming in, and you're doing so many alerts per hour that you're just burnt out. That's why a lot of it's a lot of turnaround in SOCs when people try to get out of certain SOCs, because the SOC isn't finely tuned, well-oiled machine, and people don't want to work in it because they're tired of being tired. So definitely alert fatigue is a big one. That's one of the ones we always try to make sure we had analysts doing what, maybe at least only 5 to 6, maybe 7 alerts an hour. I think that was it. I think we didn't want to go anything over in that before I hit that threshold of being fatigued of too many alerts. Also, back to the client. Number 6, no direction from the client. Meaning they're not telling you kind of what to do or what they want to do. You got to pry, and they're telling you you're doing something wrong, and it's just a lot where you have inconsistencies in the client, or they don't want to listen to you. Because think about it, they pay you for the service, so they know that you know more, so why not just listen to us? Number 7, bad triaging. For you guys don't know, triage is pretty much investigation. So bad triaging or lack thereof. It's kind of going back into the laziness thing. People, I touch on the lack thereof. Lack thereof is, it's not even lazy. They just don't know what to do, and they're not trying to get better at it. I mean, you're showing them, they're not taking notes. and it just has the potential for things to blow up, which I'll cover later on in this video. Number 8, bad documentation. Bad documentation is a big one. I mean, when we first started, documentation was horrible. So, and it's small thing. Documentation is very small, but I tell people all the time that it's super big, especially in your role as being a SOC analyst, or it's documentation for your notes, but also when you have documentation for the environment. You got to deal with assets, IPs, who to reach out to if this happens. Think about it. If you do the wrong thing on a certain alert, and if, let's say, it's an executive type alert, VIP, very, very important person, potentially everybody's getting in trouble, or you messed up and a breach has happened. That's how important documentation is, and people kind of overlook it because they look at it as mundane and tedious. So here's a tip: you start out a new SOC and you want to stand out, volunteer to upgrade the documentation. You'll get familiar with the systems and the environment, and you'll also be seen as a person that's ready to put in the work, that's ready to do the nitty gritty, and you really won't have to worry about much unless they just got money problems. You'll be on your way to moving up just because you volunteered to do stuff that people didn't want to do. Number 9, back on the clients limitation on platforms. I know from my experience, we couldn't do all the stuff for the incident response process because they had different teams that they outsourced to. So that was pretty much, like for example, we have access to Tame and CrowdStrike, and we only could do a little bit in there as far as finding information, or now we're able to run scripts in there, but we weren't able to take hosts offline and actually do the remediation, remove, whatever malicious indicators on the host. We weren't able to do that. That went to another team. So it's kind of one of those things, because you kind of want, eventually you do so much of the same stuff, you want to do more advanced level things, and those are some of the things that you may run into that you don't get to do at a SOC. So just keep that in mind, because that's stuff they don't tell you. Number 10, pro and con, but it's 24/7. So 24/7 means that you might have to work all shifts. Sometimes you only have 2 shifts, day and night. Sometimes you have day, mids, nights. I prefer just day and night. It's easier when it comes to making the schedules for people, and some people don't want to work certain schedules, and not knowing when you sign up for a SOC, unless it's implicitly stated, and like when you got hired that you couldn't work certain shift, you need to be able to work all those shifts. So that's a drag, in my Shikamaru voice. 11 is going to be incident breaches. They don't talk about that. I'm going to cover that more in depth. It's definitely not something that's really highlighted too much that really happens. So we're going to talk about that. Probably not in this video. It'll probably be another video. Number 12, new software without proper training. This one is a big one because, for the simple fact, they'll probably try to rush some software in or platform in for you guys to work off of, and you really don't get a chance to get a feel for it over a month or two. And so now everybody's just making mistakes because they're not used to it, and clients get mad about stuff and was like, hey, you guys pushed this on us and we've been telling you about it. You guys didn't want to either get the training or whatever. So that's one of those things you can run into. Number 13, I think I talked about documentation, but lack of asset management. Like for example with us, it would take forever to find sometimes where a host belong, who's a proper resolver group, whereas if you'd had it done right in ServiceNow, whenever we put a host in, it'll populate the assignment group. Or we couldn't find out if this source IP was a scanner, did it belong to the client. Like stuff like that is very tedious, and it can take a long time for you when it comes to working. But those are some of the things they don't tell you about when it comes to working in a SOC. If you agree or disagree with me, let me know in the comments below. I thought I was going to add on to this video right here, but I'm not. I'm going to make it a separate one just because, this may get too long. I don't want to get too long. I actually really want you guys to hear the story for the next one. So, hey, I appreciate you guys for rocking with me. Enjoyed the video. Subscribe to it. Share it out with your friends. Until next time, it's your boy HD.